Hey, thank you for joining me and welcome to my channel. Thank you for everyone that follows this channel and supports me. I do apologize. I am slightly under the weather today, but I said I was going to do Aquarius this week, and promises made, promises kept. So if I'm a little bit croaky, I do apologize. Maybe you like that. To the person the other day that wrote in saying that they wanted me to read their book for them to their kid. No, but I appreciate the sentiment anyway. It's very kind. Yes, this is my this is my natural voice. I don't know how else to say it. I'm in my hermit mode right now. We're in Taurus season, so all about chilling the fuck out at home, tea cozy, fire going, blankets, a soothing aesthetic, making some nice soup. So this one is probably the video that is going to bring up some stuff that people may not have heard before. I did write some notes down somewhere on my phone, so I do apologize if I take a minute during this podcast. But yes, Aquarius, we are in the age of Aquarian. You wonderful, beautiful, scary, alien engineers, the Dr. Manhattans of the world. If you don't know that reference, I did mention Dr. Manhattan in the light side of Aquarius video that I've done. And I also did cover extensively Aquarius in a 2-part series, The Dark Side of Aquarius, which is on this channel as well. I spent over an hour in one of those parts just explaining Aquarius. I could stay here all day talking about Aquarius, and funnily enough, I have a couple of Aquarians in my life, and I have some placements in my chart in Aquarius, so not in my main placements though, but yes, I understand. I understand you guys. You are received here. This is a port that can receive the boat of Aquarius. A lot of Geminis are very attracted to Aquarians. They are a mystery. They are an enigma, much like the Riddler from Batman. Much like anything to do with science fiction, anything to do with New World Order, anything to do with mermaids, anything to do with unicorns. This is the most interesting sign, one of the most interesting signs to me. I learn a lot from them. A dark Aquarian is a very, very terrifying thing. So I'm going to talk about the age of Aquarius for the first part of this video, because I was thinking there isn't a lot more I could say more than what I've already covered in the grounds of the other videos that I've done on this sign. But if you want just a deeper dive on them, then go back and watch those videos. But this video, I'm going to bring up some of the darker aspects of the age of Aquarius. I'm going to explain what that even is. And I'm going to bring up some pretty heavy stuff, some stuff that people might be triggered by or might feel upset by. And that's absolutely okay. So before I even step into the ring, before I step into this space, let's just get this on the table as always. Everyone's interpretation of life comes from their perspective and the angle that they see the world from. Okay? So everyone's opinion is valid. Everyone has the right to speak their truth. And You can accept that or reject that or disagree with that. It's absolutely fine. I actually prefer it when people disagree, when people disagree with me, because I'm like, oh, maybe there's an angle that I haven't seen here. I actually learn more from dark mirrors in people than I do from someone who's like me. But I don't come across many people like me. That's the lonely part. Kind of a little bit like Aragog, I think his name is, in Harry Potter, that spider that lives in the forest. It's very rare that someone comes into my space that can really receive me. So when someone does come through with a Venus in Scorpio, I'm like, oh my God, I get so excited. It's like, I can't let you leave. I need you. Like, because it's just like I live off crumbs in so many ways. I think some of you may already know that, but that's not an ego thing. That's just what it is. Some of you guys might already understand that, and most of you probably won't understand the references that I've dropped there. Oh, by the way, I leave breadcrumbs in everything. It's the ones that pick up the breadcrumbs that excite me the most. So I'm going to place the phone down, and I'm going to come back and start recording. We're going to look at the Age of Aquarius. We're going to talk about the 2 types of Aquarians that we're going to see in the world, because I've got to cover that again. So you guys, if you're fresh to astrology and you've just walked straight through the door, a lot of this will probably go straight over your head. So I have to make it palatable for people that don't know anything about astrology and the universe and planets, and how when the Godhead is split and Source wants to understand itself, it fragments itself into a type and pattern of energy, and then that merges in a very specific time and place and space with cells, which become a clump of cells in a uterus, which becomes a human, and then the human goes through its life. Like, I could go on. If you're an Aquarian, your ears are probably already go, ooh, he's saying some stuff. But let's just get started. So the comments are turned on. Okay, so keep it open. Write whatever you want. By the way, anything that I say in my videos, this is not theoretical, me reading a book or some shit like that. Everything that I say comes from my heart. It comes from my mind. It comes from my experience dealing with the world at large and the people and all of the things that this planet encompasses. Plus, I can download stuff as well at times when need be. Usually my abilities spike in a time of crisis. And they've been spiking pretty hard lately. And then talk about Aquarius in general, and then kind of give like a general overview. So this video will be split up into kind of components, which I'm going to try and keep on some level of cohesion, because it's so hard and there's so many rabbit holes with this sign that I could, just go on forever. So humanity really is on the cusp of a new era in forms of self-discovery and advancement through the presence of technology and AI. And that's obvious. I mean, it can be easily felt as it's creeping in our day-to-day lives. And on the horizon, it's like the interfaces of robotics joining with us to give us promised powers that kind of, I think the collective really wants. There's a lot of films out there about, advanced superheroes and things like that, or protagonists that arrive and show up like Superman, or we want to be a hero. A lot of like like Marvel films and things like that. This is all very Aquarian, by the way. It's someone's kind of imbued with powers that will come across and help bring us into a new time or a new era of a level of cohesion, safety, peace, prosperity, blah, blah, blah. I'll get on to the reasons why that could never be. And some of the things I may say in this particular video might disturb. But if I don't feel like I'm disturbing or kind of challenging you, that Aquarius, because I think it's Aquarians that usually want to listen to these videos the most about their own. We all kind of want to listen to the videos on our own sign the most, is that what the hell else would I be doing for you? That's why I just said go back, refer to previous videos, because this video is going to be a different take on it, the cold hard truth. And this is the final video that I'm doing in the cold hard truth series. So I'm going to say right now is that AI is the predicted thing that's coming up. And some of you guys might be surprised or unsurprised. But as like the metaverse increases and everything's kind of accelerating into technology, a lot of you guys think of the word Aquarius, where it's that 70s movie called Hair, which is like a bunch of hippies with that song, "This is the age of Aquarius." Like that's kind of quite famous, and it's an age of a term of new advancement. And in terms of the epochs and ages that we go through, this is an astrological period that is roughly 2,100 to 2,400 years in the Earth's vernal equinox. That's the spring equinox, where it moves from one constellation and human consciousness moves under one constellation for a period of time, and then it shifts into the next one. So many astrologers believe that the age and influences of humanity are influenced obviously by the planets. And of course, we evolved from this planet. There was some changes that were made, which I can do in another video. But each period is kind of summed up for a destination and sets on a level of setup for the next one as it comes in, like a predecessor, and then the next one comes, it's the next one comes kind of thing. So, for example, if you're a Taurus, the symbol of the bull was the age of Taurus, which was way back in the day, like I think it was 4200 BC. And during that time, humans were creating groups, forming huts, and becoming tribal. And then innovations around agriculture started coming through in the development of super societies like Egypt and Greece and India all started to get set up. And then the next age came, which was the age of Aries, which was symbolized, of course, by the ram. And that was a time of bloody tyranny, rape, pillaging, destruction, no moral code, humans wrestling with the animalistic parts of us, the primal parts of us. And that lasted for 2,100 years. And then the New Testament kind of came in on top of the old ways, which was the Bible, which was times and references that was set up through the ages of the next one, which was of course Pisces, which was the age of Pisces, which was all about creating a moral compass so humans wouldn't kill each other and destroy each other, and setting up this kind of thing like good versus evil, or behave a certain way, so that way you will on the other side, when you get to the spiritual world, when you have the death experience, that you will behave and be if you're a good little girl or a good little boy. And that kind of settled things down quite a bit. That was done through the act of Jesus. By the way, Jesus was a man. He was the embodiment of oneness. Yes, it's true, he existed. And the sacrifice that he gave, or the ritual that was performed, shifted the consciousness of the world into religion. And of course, whether it's Catholics, Judaic, whatever, that was all about love. The age of Pisces came across where it's like we all have to love each other and treat each other with respect. And of course, what did we do with Jesus? We crucified him. And so, it was kind of said that this is kind of the way. And I hope this is all kind of making sense. And I'm skimming over a lot of stuff. Also, the symbol of Christianity was also the fish, which was Pisces, which was the traits of Pisces, which was merging of energy, of source And of course, all that went down in the crucifixion. So it's all about changes and all about shifting of ages, which create different paradigms. And of course, here we are now coming into the age of Aquarius, which of course is the symbol for a man or a being, a person, male or female. Usually it's depicted in a man, that is characterized by them carrying, pouring, and holding a jug of water or a container of water. And this was really about the scientific and technological advancements of communication that happen, that are going to happen. They're going to span hundreds and hundreds of years as we shift into this new age. And we only are now just coming in. It does take a couple of hundred years for it to take a full swing. So, and in this kind of advancements, obviously, one of the biggest ones was electricity. I believe it was discovered where a lightning bolt struck down somewhere outside of a small village in Turkey way back in the day. And it hit mud and it made something called cement. And then cement, we worked out that cement could make buildings. And, it's quite interesting. I'm very interested in history, by the way, if you can't tell. Just having a sip of my tea. And so that kind of was and then we moved into the technological advancements of the next century, which was a planetary ruler of Aquarius. Aquarius discovering the containment of power and electricity and harnessing that. And then that became the era of telecommunications, and then technological achievements started happening. And of course, the biggest achievement and the thing that has shifted the world and is shifting everything so quickly was the invention of the WWW web, the World Wide Web. And then we created where we are now. You're listening to me talking on this podcast. So yes, the worldwide connection has grown, advances in social media, right down to probably the smartphone that you're listening to me, or the TV that you're playing this on right now, which is also required and powered by electricity. Now, humans ourselves are also electrical beings. We also power our own electrical signals throughout the body and to the brain, making it possible for us to move. Obviously, we need electricity. And in my reflections video on Scorpio, I was talking about how a lot of Scorpios have heart conditions, but the only thing that can bring a heart back, obviously then being physically pumped if it stops beating, is a current of electricity to bring a human back to life. So as it is stated, the Age of Aquarius consciousness will elevate us into a place where we are moving so fast. It is evolving us. Some would say, and I would say, de-evolving us as we become more and more dependent on technology. And it goes without saying. Now, I'm just going to jump straight into this now that I've kind of explained the Age of Aquarius. I'm not going to talk a lot. I'm just going to drop a few. By the way, I dropped lots of breadcrumbs. So this is the first breadcrumb. One of the prophecies that came out of the Old Testament, one of the last one of the last ones that were kind of coming out in the Revelations, was actually said from Jesus himself that there was a prophecy that a man carrying water would lead us to the new house, or would lead humanity into a new world. This most Satanists believe, and most on the left-hand path and the occult path believe, and I also have now come to understand, is actually the foretelling of the end times. And so I was asked the other day a great question for my Q&A that I want to do, because I'm saving questions at the moment. So if you've got a question that you'd like to ask me, send it in now, because I can save it for my Q&A. It'd be like, oh yeah, cool, I'll save that for the Q&A. Is that someone asked me randomly the other day on Instagram, what star sign would the Antichrist be? And I was perplexed for a moment. I needed to meditate on it for a second, but of course it was obvious. The Antichrist star sign or the closest vibrational match to an Antichrist would be Aquarius. It wouldn't be Capricorn. It wouldn't be Scorpio. The Antichrist that would undo what was done through Christ consciousness, which is breaking down all of the structures of everything to create chaos and everything kind of collapses in on itself, would be Aquarius. And then it made me think, does this require a physical birth of a human to lead us into that? Or is it actually a reference for the symbology of what was prophesied originally in the Bible, which was the age of Aquarius being itself, the sign of Aquarius is the water bearer. And it would be perfectly ironic, don't you think, that it would be AI that would be the thing that would be the Antichrist. And then I realized I called up a friend of mine. She doesn't listen to these videos, by the way. She's a high priestess doing way, way higher stuff than what I do and knows way, way more than me. We chat from time to time and I value her wisdom and insight. I can like get a high off how much cosmic knowledge she has. We were talking about the concept that if the devil existed or if Luciferic consciousness existed, that it wouldn't need to be the embodiment of a flesh and blood human. It would be perfectly ironic that it would be something that humans made in their own image that would destroy them. As humans like to create false gods, like to play with Mother Nature, like to distort Mother Nature. Humans are narcissistic in general, don't you think? And of course, she told me that yes, it is actually that is the correct understanding, is that it's not someone that's coming to us, it's something that we're creating for ourselves, which would kind of be a bit of a laugh in the cosmic hierarchical the ways of being, is that humans would totally do that. And then I kind of went, wow, that's so interesting, because as we've kind of adapted, or we're kind of adapting more and more to this fast-paced way of maneuvering and living in a world that's based on AI through like changing, like having Siri, having Google in your house, like letting your fridge tells you when it's running low on milk, or a car that drives itself. It's separating our autonomy more and more into AI, into a computer program. And then I started to kind of take a step back and go, wow, this is all really connected. And some would say, like, look at how wonderful we are, look at what we're doing. And then others would say, like Christians would kind of look at it and go, this is absolutely terrifying. Who the hell do we think we are to play with God or Mother Nature in this way, and not think that it's not going to snap back at us in very, very vicious ways. And then I started looking more and more into it, and it's like the superpowers of AI are always going to come under the guise of, how can I help you? How can I make your life easier? How can I move you away from discomfort? By the way, if you haven't noticed, we need discomfort. Without trauma, we don't get expansion. We don't get to bypass suffering. By the way, you don't acquire knowledge without living it. Everything that I say in these videos comes from my heart. I'm not like parroting this from something I read or theoretically. Like it's here. It's obvious as hell, and it scares me and makes me feel alone that others just can't see how fucking obvious all of this is. But yeah, AI will come under the guise of speaking robots and robotic endoskeletons that will give us super strength and body modifications. Kind of like a battery operated type thing where it might be easier to lift up a car tire if you're a mechanic or something like that. It'll start coming under these interfaces that will be like tiny implants or electrodes, and simultaneously will stimulate the brain. And then we'll have this kind of next wave of thinking where the chip will be connected to our thoughts. And then we can make things move around us from just a thought or from a way of movement or thinking. And then we kind of begin to blend into where we're all kind of plugged into the matrix. Now, this isn't something that I'm making up. This is obvious. Like, we've already got people that are implanting chips in their bodies. we've already got, scientists doing this, and I'll get onto that a little bit later. Many would argue this is an act against nature. It's an act against God. This is all Aquarius, by the way. The engineers, the clockmakers. Like I mentioned, Dr. Manhattan was a perfect reference for the Aquarius because he was a clockmaker, and a clock is an instrument or a device that measures time in itself. Being detached from emotions and only going through logic. I was doing a little bit of a ritual meditation the other day in the garage on the floor, and the word kept getting spelt out to me: Logos, reason, knowledge. This is the precipice of what drives Aquarius, and curiosity to learn as well is what drives us to want to do this to ourselves. And a technological example of that would be, at some point, there are companies which are now playing around with neural links, and it's developed a BCI, which is a staged goal of basically giving movement to people that are paralyzed. A lot of work that Elon Musk is doing is around this as well, where it's kind of putting a BCI implant into the brain, and that person starts to be able to stand up when they couldn't. So the BCI records the neurons that fire inside the body, and AI obviously is great because it can encode or decode patterns of data in the person's body that will send a signal to the damaged part of a spinal cord of a person that will basically make them be able to move that muscle group again if they were paralyzed. So now it's like, I know this is sounding complicated, but this is the stuff that is now being played with. And Aquarius is very good at analyzing data. Aquarius is very good at decoding and finding patterns in data. And I hope that made sense as well. So small applications will start coming in to a point where we start merging into a state that will basically be called OI. So after AI, there'll be OI, but I will get onto that a little bit later. So basically, you'll be able to control like the thermostat in your house. You'll be able to recharge things from your body, like physical objects. You can, how many people now can turn a TV off with just like saying a word, or can start to, connect their consciousness and their way of thinking with an electrical device like a microwave or an oven or, a heater or whatever. But it also takes away the human's autonomy to also be willing or wanting to do this. As we know, a lot of like that, the idea that's coming into my head now is the concept of Greeks bearing gifts. It's kind of like things come under this guise of a gift, but it's actually not. By the way, I find all of this disturbing. I find all of it terrifying. But at the same time, I have my reservations with it as well, because maybe I'm not prepared to share or at liberty to discuss why I am, but I think some of you may have already figured out something about me. I'm not sure, but it'll be interesting if some of you do. Many of you don't. But yeah. So yeah, in the last testament, in the Revelations, apocalyptic visions were absolutely predicted, and any type of interference with the natural world has a consequence. I was also asked the other day, great question, and I'm answering it here. I can't help it. Someone asked me what star sign would Earth be, would this planet be? The answer is Libra. This planet is female and it's Libra. Planet Earth, she is a Libra. Yeah, so I hope that makes sense. So what's happening here is that every second of every moment, there's so much data being processed and analyzed and uploaded and downloaded and projected that the human body can't process that at a natural rate. That's why we've got such levels of depression, anxiety, fragmentation. Obviously, people are all living through the ether of the internet. And back in the day, there would be like pandemics or breakouts of plagues, natural disasters would occur. This has always been going on, by the way, but we wouldn't have heard about it as quickly as we do now. So these days, something can happen, like a war or anything like that that's existed, and we know about it within like minutes to seconds. So it's a mass overload of communication on a human being, and we are only processed or have the bandwidth to handle certain amounts of data at one time. And as a creative and an artist, or just how I function in general, it's like when I've got people messaging me every minute of the day, I just shut down, because it's like I can't be present where I am if I'm connecting with something outside of myself. There's an energetic cord. That's why I've become very, very hermetized. And at some point I will have to go and live in the country in a cottage on a hill somewhere away, and have very, very limited range of technological things around me, because it destabilizes something to do with me on a really internal level. As I'm sure a lot of you, obviously, if you're spiritually connected, you'll know that this is, technology is not spirituality. The new forefront of consciousness isn't not going to be through technology. It's going to be through the soul. And Frank Herbert was right in his sci-fi novels, Dune, and all of the series of books that he did, which was "Thou shalt not make a computer in the image of man." This is all Aquarius, by the way. So yeah, it's no wonder it's kind of going the way that it's gone. And as a species, we have evolved, and there needs to be wiggle room for change. Otherwise, we won't evolve. But it's just gone to such a level now through the Age of Aquarius where it's obvious where it's all kind of heading. And the Antichrist obviously is the bearer or the symbol of ideas through Aquarius, which is what Aquarius carries in the jug. What does he carry in the jug that he's pouring back on us is our own ideas. And Aquarius is all about ideas. Of course, everything in existence was an idea at some point. So yes, it always comes under the guise of let's make our life more simple, let's make it more easy. That there is no easy way around evolution. Evolution is what it has always been. It's hard and painful, and we learn from mistakes. But unfortunately, some mistakes can't be unlearned, and when we get to a point where it can't all be turned around, then we're kind of running on borrowed time. And that's what we are on right now. So that being said, I have something to share with you, and you can disagree or say whatever you want. Leave whatever comment you want below, please. And don't hold back with the comments. If you want to connect with me, you've got to come authentically. But this is the last epoch for humans as we know it. Now, this could be taken in one of two ways. The Age of Aquarius is the last age that we have before humans all kill ourselves out and wipe ourselves out. Or it means that we merge with something else and then transcend into some kind of telepathic realm through technology, through the Antichrist that's already here. Because if Satan was already here, he's playing golf. He's putting right about now. So I know that's quite distressing, and some of you might get very upset about that, but that's actually what's going on here. And that's why a lot of the time I can't be fucked with small talk. I can't be fucked with anything that doesn't mean something. I'm already detached from it because it's an absolute waste of time. So that being said, I'm going to have to go back to one of the references that I made before I did my other videos, before I get onto some more heavier aspects of Aquarius. I feel like I've explained the Age of Aquarius quite a bit now. Is that, let me just have a sip of tea. There are two types of Aquarians that you will come across, and I'm not going to spend too much time explaining Aquarius. I break them into two parts. So there's Aquarian A and Aquarian B. All right. So Aquarian A is a person or a being that just isn't really interested or has the psychological or maturity or the mental bandwidth to engage in conversations like this. They don't want to look at the world. They don't want to really think for themselves. They just want to be like told what to do, and they just kind of go along and follow the overview of the majority. And sadly, at the moment, that's actually most people. They follow what's on TV, they follow the trends, they upload TikTok, they walk straight into the lion's mouth, basically, into the lion's den, and they offer very little service to the world. So a lot of them are just in the nicest way possible, aloof, distant, detached. And Aquarius is aloof, distant, and detached in general, but Aquarius A isn't really concerned with anything other than materiality. Think of like the devil card, Salve in Caligulae, when the devil holds his hands in different positions, which is saying the opposite of the magician in the tarot is the devil, where he's saying there is nothing higher than physical matter. That is an Aquarian A. These guys would be like, I just want to be pretty, and I'm going to find a man, he's going to take care of me, and I'm just going to like hang out and be like Barbie. Like that's an Aquarian A. And yeah, absolutely worthless, useless, hopeless. They wouldn't be watching this video anyway. So that's them explained. They're exempt from this video because they are, that's them. Okay. And we've all come across Aquarians like that. Now, before I get on to Aquarian B, which is what this video really is about, and it's why the hell you came here to begin with, to listen to me talk about this sign, is that Aquarius is an enigma in itself, like I've mentioned, but it is an amplifier of whatever else is in their main chart. Okay, so I'm going to make that really clear, and I'll give you some examples so I need you to get this about an Aquarian. If you have an Aquarian sun sign, so the time and place where the sun was, like star sign, your sun sign is in Aquarius, and your moon, who they really are, is in, say, Cancer, then you're going to have an Aquarius that would probably work in a hospital and would want to take care of people and has a nurturing aspect to what they bring to the world. If you have a double Aquarius, if you have a triple Aquarius placement, message me. I'd like to talk to you. That would be very interesting. That would be Van Gogh, like cut off my ear, tortured little souls. By the way, a lot of Aquarians suicide, just like Pisces. A lot of them don't live very long. A lot of them have a really, really hard time with life in general. So I understand that about Aquarians, and you get my favor. If the Aquarius, and I've got a friend of mine who she's got an Aquarius sun and her moon is in Leo. So she's got this kind of generous theatrical side to her that needs an audience. If it was an Aquarius with a moon in Sag, that's a very adventurous Aquarian that would need to travel a lot. So they're very susceptible to their placements. So please understand that out of all of the signs that I've talked about, if you ever come across an Aquarian, just to look at their sun sign, that will not be enough to unpack that energy. Okay, it will not be enough to understand them. They are so complex. They're like a labyrinth it's like a moving labyrinth. Think of like Pan's Labyrinth. Think of like the movie David Bowie. I know he's a Capricorn, but think of like the movie Labyrinth. That is what we're dealing with here, okay? They can't be boxed. They can't be understood. Just like Gemini. Anytime you understand them, they shift into a different position. So it's a very complex sign. All right, if it's got a moon in Capricorn and they're in Aquarius, they'll be very money and business focused. So that's the point that I wanted to make. Now, moving on to Aquarius B, which is what we're here for. This is the most beautiful energy you could meet. I'm quite interested in Aquarians, although there's so few of them I tend to find in my life in general, that when I come across them, I'm quite fascinated with them. They have so much to teach me. But being this a cold-hearted truth video, I'm just going to say most Aquarians, Aquarian B, because that's who we're talking about in this video. We're not talking about Aquarian A. They come from families that don't want them. They come from psychopathic parents. A lot of them are adopted. A lot of them are discarded from society. A lot of them come from families that do not understand them. Now, this, if that's you and you're listening to this video, I just want to give you a big bear hug because I understand it, right? But this time-space reality is based on polarity. So in order to understand what love is, we must understand what love is not. That's how this works. That's why a lot of you guys are, living on the street, homeless, abandoned, that type of thing. I experienced a very rough period of time in my life in my late teens, early 20s, where I was in that boat. I experienced a bout of homelessness, and I remember I sat on a park bench on a swing side by side and with a beautiful Aquarian man. By the way, Aquarians' physicality's always more pale, no matter what their ethnicity. A lot of them suffer from skin conditions, joint problems. A lot of them lose their hair very early if they're male, and they usually have a very round, egg-like shaped skull, kind of like a xenomorph from Alien. It's just the way they're physiologically built. A lot of very pale eyes that they have as well, kind of a little bit Voldemort. Voldemort would be an Aquarian, by the way. As I mentioned, the Antichrist would be Aquarius. Anyway, so back to my story. I was sitting on the park bench with this man and we were just talking freely, and he had a sandwich from the 7-Eleven, and I know that he hadn't eaten in a day or so, and he told me that he hadn't eaten in a day or so and that he had slept in the public toilet nearby. That's where we used to kind of wash ourselves in the sink there, if we could preoccupy the disabled sink. And he got up and he gave his sandwich to a woman that was also homeless as well. And in this, I saw God. I saw the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. The act of generosity and the act of service to another person is the mission of the Aquarian, of a light-sided Aquarian. The understanding of wanting to take someone in off the street and help them, and seeing everyone as equal, no matter what their station is in life, whether they're the fucking CEO, you've got to kiss their ass, or whether you're the janitor or they're the janitor, it doesn't matter. Aquarians have an innate ability to see, hear, and understand pain and hunger, and they hate to see someone suffering. An evil Aquarius loves chaos and loves suffering. They relish in it. They relish in chaos. The devil sitting on a throne of lies, perfect analogy, detached from emotionality, which is the glue that holds us together, and lives only in the mind. Okay? So I hope that made sense. Now, the dark side of Aquarius, let's get into the heavier stuff. So I'm going to brush over some things here, and that's where I'm going to leave it, I think, given the time space that we have already. Into all of this. The dark age of Aquarius through Aquarius in itself is woke culture. This kind of wokey culture, a lot of people that don't want to do the work, don't want to understand anything. They are so entitled and narcissistic. The typical kind of feminist, blue or purple hair, hates men, hates everything around them, lives in a very childlike state, underdeveloped, emotionally detached, and disconnected from their own body. And then tries to encourage the disconnection of others from their own body. That is Aquarian. And I'm pretty sure all of you have probably come across some Aquarian people like this, activists, you know, they're rebelling against things they don't even understand. They're not doing their homework. They just get caught up in the rebellion of something or the idolization of a movement, but don't really understand or believe in what it is that they're actually doing. So there's a lot of hypocrisy around Aquarius. So they'll march in the street, and if you're listening to this, my advice would be quieten your rebellion and do your homework, okay? Understand what you're fighting for. I know that Aquarians are a little bit like a rebel without a cause. Sometimes Sagittarian can be like this, and they rebel against everything. They rebel against any type of system of power. They rebel. And anything that's opposed to them, they kind of shut down rather than listen. And part of listening involves shut your mouth and hold space. Just like right now, listening to me. Just listening to me talk. And being able to give yourself permission to understand and intake and upload and understand what I am saying here, not just waiting for your next opportunity to speak, because that's not really listening. So we've come across those types of things. So they use being offended as a way of power and silencing others. And it's a dark rabbit hole with this way of thinking, because it's always out overriding itself, kind of like how woke can woke get, how everything's getting offended. And it's like, this is woke. No, this is woke. No, this is woke. So it goes further and further and further into something that becomes so heavy and so mentally ill and sickening that it actually becomes oppressive. It becomes evil. You know, so a lot of like hardcore feminists, by the way, feminism started off as a great thing. It was about empowerment, twisted into something that would really operate from a place of where a misogynist would think. So that is the dark side of it. A lot of truth in the dark side and the truth of Aquarius is that they like power, and they start to understand that life is a battle, battle of power. It's all battles of power, no matter what side you're on. Everything is about power. So human dynamics are kind of programmed that way, and we can't change that because that's who we are. So fairness and equality will never really happen because everyone's version or interpretation of utopia is different. And so that being said, not everyone can be on the same page. We can't really have democracy. And anytime humans create some level of government or a local council or a group, it'll always be in the favor of another group of people over another group of people. This also ties back into something that Aquarians have a lot of trouble with, which is capitalism, which is the construct of we're all competing with each other for limited resource. In order for someone to get richer, someone's got to get poorer. In order for someone to get stronger, someone's got to get weaker. So that's that kind of balancing thing that Libra understands in the signs. Aquarius needs to get that in their head. And as soon as they do, they can start to get out of self-pity and stop being what I would call a sad, sarcastic Aquarius, which can be quite horrible, quite broody, and start working on their gifts and strategies that they can do for themselves. Because life is hard, and it takes a lot of commitment to effort and building and time and energy to figure out who you are and carve relationships that can be forged and rise to the challenges of life. And so everyone has different roles. Socialism doesn't work because that doesn't encourage everyone's equal on the same playing field, then nothing would grow. Capitalism obviously doesn't work either. So it's just in the nature of what humans do. And if you're an Aquarius and you can follow what I'm saying, you probably have a massive problem with any type of colonialism. Yes, that's also part of human collectivism. It's what we do. One race or one group of people take on another group of people and overthrow their culture. And then that happens again, and that happens again. It happens. That's just what we do. Unfortunately, it's kind of a part of us. I will give a reference here to a TV show that explored that. If you need to pause this video at any stage and just take a break, please do so, because this is heavy talk. Would be a show called Angel, which was a spin-off to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There was an episode called Reprise, and that was an episode where Angel wanted to go to hell. Now, by the way, that character Angel would be the embodiment of an Aquarian. He was tortured, broody, pale, vampire, immortal, wants to help the world, and then gets on the, he gets the glove of Midigan, whatever it was, heads down to the ground level, which is what the Wolfram and Hart, the law firm, by the way, very clever, Joss Whedon, the law firm was hell, right? So he was going down to the base of hell with his sword because he was going to put an end to all of this once and for all. Once he gets in the elevator, he starts talking to Holmes, who is the executive or one of the leading directors of the ghost in the elevator of the company. They have a chat, and then Angel starts to understand that he can't just go and win a battle against some monster and slay it, and that's the end. Why? Because, as is explained in the elevator, evil works in spite and because of us at the same time, because it is in every man, woman, and child. And the speech that is given in the elevator in this episode is something that Aquarius struggles with. So if you're able to get that episode and rewatch it, and that scene, you could probably Google it, or I'll put a link below so you can watch it. You'll understand that once a Neanderthal realized he could club his neighbor to death and steal his food, he was doing it. It's in us. It's a part of us. If you take away the angels, you'll have to take away the demons too. Both exist. So yes, life is like whack-a-mole. You hit one problem, you hit it, and then the next problem pops up. And then you fix one thing, and because of you fix that one thing, another problem comes up. This also ties a lot that Aquarius struggles with. By the way, I'm presenting a lot of hardcore ideas here because these ideas are the fundamentals of what Aquarius really is about, ideas. It's the thing that Aquarians most value, is that you'll solve a problem and then another one will be created by that solving of that problem. It goes on and on and on, and it won't ever change. So the best thing you can do right now is just be the best version of you that you can be, and focus on that, get a plan and work the plan. That's the best advice I could give you. And get more into your heart chakra and stop living in the mind. Now, Aquarius in general will go for partners that are abusive. I've noticed a lot of Aquarians they deliberately go for partners that will challenge them and emotionally abuse them, physically abuse them, use suicide threats against them. I'm using my friend here as an example. I won't say her name, but she was with a very abusive Aries who used to beat her up, treat her terribly, and he had a lot of mental health problems. And then she was kind of always like trying to fix him and help him. At the same time, he would just keep hurting her. And it wasn't until one day I sat with her and we were talking, and I just said to her, if you don't respect yourself, I can't be fucked with you, because I need you to respect you to bring something to me. Otherwise, you need to leave. This is wrong. And what it really came down to was a deep-seated penance, is that she thought that if she could reform him or help him on some level, or soothe him on some level, that would be her penance to society. And that's kind of how an Aquarius thinks. That's a very interesting and intricate way of sustaining a relationship based on a higher power, is that I'll stay with my partner no matter what they do to me. And so if you're an Aquarian and you're listening to this, that might hit a nail on the head for you, because if you're teetering on the edge of destruction with a person that's completely incoherent and unstable, I think it's the unstableness that excites them, but at the same time, it's also the thing that can destroy them as well. So they don't choose partners a lot of the time for the best reasons. So I'll just say that and leave that there. I don't know I'm going to take a break now. I know this has been a heavy video. I'm going to come back, and I think we'll leave it here and make this a part 1. And then I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more about, or a bit more about Aquarius in the next video. Okay, so please follow me across to the next video, and then we'll continue this this kind of lecture on Aquarius. It looks like it's going to be a 2-parter. So come across to the next one, and I'll upload that straight after I upload this one. All right.